Hey, kids, welcome to the Randy Karraker Show, presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. Matthew Rocchio, Randy Karraker. It is great to have you with us here at STL Sports Central. I'm going to put up a post right now inviting everybody in the Twitterverse to come and join us on the Randy Karraker Show. What do you think of that?
There you go. I like that. It's a good move.
I'm going to do it. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do so. I'm at our Randy Karraker on the Twitter, and that's Karraker. And the Blues lost 6-3 last night. They were down 2-0 in the first minute. They come back and tie it. I don't know about this team. I think that they're missing a level of leadership, Matthew. I think they're missing intensity. I think they are missing physical. What they're missing is mental and emotional. And I don't know how you fix it without making a move for somebody that has some veteran leadership ability. And this is with all due respect to a great leader in Braden Shen, but I think he needs help in leading this team. And I really think the biggest issue facing this team now is beyond the physical. I really do think it's getting involved in the game and being present mentally in the game on a regular basis.
Well, I really do hope that it's just a mental problem for Joe Hofer, because you conceivably that should be easier to fix than a physical problem, that he's injured or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me think of the Cardinals season a little bit. But yeah, so it's got to be mental issues, because this team on paper is more talented than this. The team we saw for 60 games last year is obviously more talented than this. So when you try to put together the equation of, we know they're better than this, but they're playing like complete crap, what does it get to? And to me, it doesn't feel like a complete lack of talent up and down the roster. It just feels like a team that's completely disjointed.
Yeah, and even with Hofer, it's clearly not a physical issue, because he was dominant last year. We know that physically he's talented and he can do it, but there's something there that is just not happening. You start the season, and we are 9 games into the season now, right?
Yeah.
You start the season, and you're saying to yourself, okay, I'm going to win my home opener. I should be able to handle Utah at home. I should be able to handle Chicago at home. I should be able to handle Detroit on the road. I should be able to handle Pittsburgh on the road. Those are, in your first 9 games, those are 5 wins that I have down, and the Blues have won none of them. And I don't think that those teams that the Blues have lost to are better physically than the Blues, but the Blues should be alarmed. The players should be alarmed. I know the coach and the front office are alarmed by what's happening or not happening on the ice with this team. There's no way you fall by, all due respect, again, to what Sidney Crosby has been and is, and Malkin and that gang. That team, even though they're off to a good start, should not double up the Blues 6-3 and be in front 2-0 in the first minute.
Well, no team should be up on you 2-0 in the first minute, but there's something about the opening salvos of an NHL hockey game that has Joel Hofer completely shook right now. You saw it against the Mammoth, one of the very first shots of the game. I think maybe the first shot of the game from former Blues defenseman Ian Cole, who is somehow still in the league.
It's amazing.
He rocked the first one that night, and now you have, again, Joel Hofer falling apart early and often to letting up 2 goals in the first 45 seconds or so. It's absolutely insane. I put something up here on the list here over on the side, Randy, pulling from our old show. I feel like we have to have the keys to the panic bus out ready and just about in the ignition at this point.
I would say that's safe. Yeah.
Doors open, seatbelts on, keys are in the ignition.
Yeah, because this team, it's spiraling, and sure, they get the Red Wings again tonight, and maybe a bounce back.
But spiraling means it's getting worse.
That's what I mean. It is spiraling downward.
It's getting worse.
But here's the problem. Yeah, it is. Don't you think?
I'd have to agree with you. Yes.
But here's the other part of this, and let me just get to the.
Bam! Already had that headline ready. How about it?
What's that?
Just says the Blues are in trouble and it's getting worse.
There we go.
Let's go. I love when things work out.
Yeah, it's perfect. But here's the issue. I think that the Blues, that's not the issue. It's one of the issues.
I think that's the problem right now is there's not just one issue.
No.
There is no issue. There's a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Because as bad as the goaltending is, I still don't think you can, the defense is far from blameless in a lot of these situations.
No question.
Especially later in games. Yes, you can put it on the goaltending. These early first period goals, especially for Hofer, have been problematic. But these late game situations, a lot more mistakes popping up with the forwards and defensive groups.
Yeah. There's something wrong with my keyboard, but I'm not going to worry about it, and I'm not going to cause you any issues.
Proud of you.
Yeah, I don't want to. It's kind of like people that complain about weather when they're doing a game. It's just do the game. But here's my point about your St. Louis Blues, and right now they're yours because of the way things are going.
Yeah.
Okay? But they've gotten through a relatively easy part of their schedule without success. So at what point do you have to be ultra concerned about this team? I would say that right now, because of what they have coming up in the near future, that they have to be really concerned right now. Whether it's Doug Armstrong or whether it's Jim Montgomery or Ryan Miller or anybody on the coaching staff, let's take a look at the near upcoming schedule. And this doesn't even get us into the new year when it's going to be very difficult because of this division and because of the quality of the teams that are in this division. It's going to be tough for the Blues. But like I said, you've got 5 losses on your resume right now that, in my opinion, should have been wins, right? Do you agree with that? Opener against Minnesota, Utah, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Chicago.
Yep, I'm with him.
Okay, so 5 losses that should be wins. Well, now you get Vancouver at home. They're kind of the same as you. You go to Columbus. Columbus is tough. Edmonton was in the Stanley Cup Finals last year. They're here on November 3rd. Then you get the Capitals, and they're still a threat. You go to Buffalo. You'd like to think that's a win, but the Blues have not had success there. Okay, so we get to November 8th. We get to November 11th. We get to November 14th. Before the Blues even face one of the powers in the Western Conference, before they face Vegas. The first time they see Colorado is way down the road. This schedule is going to be brutal. So the first time they see Winnipeg, December 17th. First time they see Colorado is the last day of the year, December 31st at Colorado. I'm really concerned about what the Blues do between now and the time the schedule really gets tough.
Yeah, and so I'm right now on the bottom of the screen. You'll see the ticker has the Blues games in order up to that first VGK matchup that you just mentioned. Mm-hmm. Red Wings, Canucks at CBJ, Oilers at Capitals, at Sabres, Kraken, Flames, Flyers, and then VGK. The big thing there that's coming out to me, and I don't think I got any of these wrong, that is a lot of home games for the Blues.
Right.
At Sabres in there.
And they've been bad at home.
That's a lot. That's three away games and a big chunk of home games there for the Blues. So there's a lot of winnable games in there. But again, right now at this point, home games, I guess I can't even call them winnable games.
No,
they suck at home.
Yeah. And Anthony C., I keep hearing people say that it's early. Yeah, but it was also early when they fired Berube and Drew Bannister. Not saying it'll go like that, but enough with the early talk. Agreed with that, but they aren't firing Jim Montgomery. They gave him a 5-year contract, and he's not going anywhere. And as Doug Armstrong has told his players before, he said, look, and he has said that with Montgomery. He said, okay, the coach excuse is over with now. They aren't going to fire this coach with 4.5 years left on his contract.
It's absolutely not happening.
And so it's either going to be these players or it's going to be a different group of players, but the guy coaching them is going to be Jim Montgomery.
Yes, and Ace Rob here says, why not call up a couple of young guys for Neighbours and Thomas? And that is the other big news today that is really hard to hear if you're a Blues fan. I'm going to put it up right now. First of all, we got yesterday, because this sometimes happened in St. Louis sports, Randy. There was a report yesterday from Jim Montgomery, not his fault, I'm sure he was told by somebody, that Thomas and Neighbours were day-to-day with their injuries, so they were out last night against Pittsburgh. And then today, Jake Neighbours has been sidelined with a right leg injury, and he'll be reevaluated in 5 weeks. That changed mighty fast there between Monty yesterday and then the Blues coming out today. But either way, anyway you cut it, we can talk about the conspiracy theories on the back end there.
They went to Dr. Google and said, you know what, this has hurt worse than we thought it was.
Anyhow, day-to-day has turned into 5 weeks for Jake Neighbours, who is the leading scorer for the Blues.
Give me a reason why there would be a conspiracy.
Because it changed. That's literally the reason.
Yeah, because their prognosis had changed, right?
Exactly.
So that's not really a conspiracy. That's just
I think it's more that this has tended to happen a curious amount of times. Mm-hmm. in both hockey and baseball history here in St. Louis. But my point to that would be you're not watching every other city's sports as close,
Right.
because this happens a lot, and everyone has the conspiracy theory. Well, our medical team is bad. They're hiding stuff like this. If you follow every other team in a sport, you will see that there's a lot of franchises that have a history of doing this, and it has nothing to do with the fact that they're hiding anything or incompetence or conspiracy or things like that. Things just happen. The bottom line is Jake Neighbours is out for 5 weeks.
Who played quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday?
It was not Lamar Jackson.
Huntley, right?
It was Tyler Huntley.
Who they say was going to play on Friday.
They said it was going to be Lamar Jackson.
There you go. So yeah, it happens. But I am not one to push the panic button or get the keys to the panic bus early generally. But I think this is an issue. And oh, by the way, to your point, why don't they call up people to replace Neighbours and Thomas? I would be disappointed now if we didn't see Dvorsky.
Yeah.
What good reason do you have when the team is playing like crap and you have a young player that you really like? Why would you not call Dalibor Dvorsky up?
So our prospects expert here,
our guru, prospect
on
guru.
on SEL Sports Central is Mike Meyer. If you guys don't check out his work already on SELSportsCentral.com, you should if you care about the Blues. He could not join us today, but I did text back and forth with him about what he could see here, and I'll just read for you pretty much verbatim what he texted me about potentially seeing some call-ups.
Okay.
I could see Pekka/Alexandrov being the play. Pekka is a veteran and has been serviceable in his limited NHL time.
Can I stop you there for a second?
Mm-hmm.
You know, in Boston, when they have a guy named Pekka on the team, they call him Pecker. I'm just saying.
They couldn't call him Pecky? They could, but they won't. Pekka is a veteran and has been serviceable in his limited NHL time. Alexandrov has been very steady in his time in the NHL and is tied for the team lead with 5 points in 6 games. He's been better over the past season or two and a better overall player than we last saw him in the NHL. I've been campaigning for him to get a legit shot, and this could be it. To your point, Dvorsky could be in play, but he also hasn't been spectacular or standing out at his time early on. It depends on what their plan for the development could be for him in the NHL. If they feel a promotion with limited ice time would be valuable. Springfield is 1-5 to start the year. The Blues are 3-5-1. Eventually need to course correct, and I'm not sure if playing Dvorsky, Snuggerud, and Mayu all on the same team right now is best for a team trying to get above 500.
That's reasonable.
And that's really why I texted Mike, because just the perspective on whether or not a guy's looks like he's kind of cleaning up in space. That's what you want to see from Dvorsky. That's kind of what Carbonneau was doing as soon as they sent him back down. He started immediately scoring goals. I know he's not in the cards now, but that's what you wanted to see from a Dalibor Dvorsky. So not seeing that, and Mike reporting on the fact that he hasn't taken over, it wouldn't shock me if the Blues hold back and go with and say, let's play grit, let's play fast, let's play heavy, and go with maybe an Alexandrov.
I'm wondering, and this is totally against what we've seen in the DNA of Doug Armstrong for 16 years in charge of the Blues, because he's very patient, as you know. But if ever there was a time to, not literally, but figuratively shoot a hostage, this is the time to do it, right? This is where you either cut somebody that nobody expects to be cut, or you trade somebody that nobody expects to be traded.
All right, let's do it then. Let's fire up a trade machine that has no parameters for salary cap or logic, because who has time for that? You got to shoot a hostage, but you got to balance long-term, short-term contract positions. Randy Karraker, I'm giving you the gun.
Okay, and by the way,
proverbially,
you need the proverbial gun to shoot the hostage. You need to find somebody who is not playing well, who is an independent contractor at the moment after the 9 games, that is not, and the Blues don't worry about the cap. Because you can always put Torrey Krug on LTIR. So you've got money there if you would like to do it. So who is the person that, and this is hard.
I know what mine is.
Okay. Well, the guy that wouldn't surprise anybody, and you'd have to eat salary, he's playing 23 minutes a game, is Justin Falk.
Oh, interesting. That one would make a lot of sense.
And he's let's see, he's a -2 this year, but he's a veteran in that room. He still might have a little value. It's been a year plus now since he's been a better than average player. So I think I could go there. How about you?
If you want to shoot a hostage,
Mm-hmm.
then you want to get a reaction out of the group.
Oh, I know what you're doing. I know exactly where you're going.
You know exactly where I'm going
Yep.
this one. And listen, we had a lot of expectations for him this season, but he has not stepped up to him. If you want to make a big swing, then you do full addition by subtraction. You will get worse on the top end by trading away Pavel Buchnevich.
Oh man, okay,
but
that's not where I thought you were going.
But depending on the young forward you could maybe get back in this trade, I think in the long run you could make the team overall better. You could get a team that all 12 forwards may be buying into the same kind of mindset. That's my thought process on trading Pavel Buchnevich.
Okay, that's a good call.
What were you thinking I was going to go with?
The captain.
Oh, damn. Oh, I see. I don't think they would do that because I don't think there's the captain who gets the C.
When he's back, number 18 does.
Okay. If they think he's ready, then that would be a good way to pull that trigger.
But that would be shooting like if you've got a room full of people and one of them is the president, and you want to really make a point, then that's the hostage you shoot.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. It is the captain. One of the reasons we brought this up is because Randy, yesterday you brought up independent contractors.
Yeah,
it seems like that's a lot of what's happening. By the way, I want to say
that's not his fault. By the way.
No,
he's not.
And I do want to mention while we're talking about coach comments, it is interesting that last night there was a noticeable difference, and everything for Montgomery was very short, very clipped, one sentence answers, a lot of one syllable words and things like that. Like something snapped with him last night, I think, and how pissed off he is with this team. But to your point, last time they had a bunch of independent contractors, they had to shake things up.
They fired Mike Yeo.
Yep.
And they hired Craig Berube. And like we said, this isn't going to happen, but you do have to shake things up. I don't think there's any question about that. Let's get to some of your chats, shall we? Let's see. Mr. Karraker is a panic room DJ. 1 minute it's stay the course, the next it's shoot a hostage. No, I told you I'm patient. But I watch the situations day by day, game by game. Nothing is ever the same. All right. Generally, I am a very patient person, especially as a sports fan. But I'm seeing things that are alarming with this hockey team. So I don't think it's panic room DJ as much as it is. If you're watching the games and you're seeing the way that this group of players is performing as a unit and individually, I don't see how you cannot be really concerned. And one of the ways that you can get the attention of a group of players is to proverbially shoot a hostage. So I don't think it's I don't think it's a divergence of my approach as much as it is I'm looking at this particular team and what it's done, and maybe being patient and staying the course is your play. It's probably going to be Doug Armstrong's play, but this team does not look like it has much of a future. And I think the names that we just gave you before the captain, I think are issues. I think Falk is an issue. I think that, and it's not the first year he's been an issue. I think Buchnevich is an issue. It's not the first year he's been an issue. I've been very patient with those guys. I still think Pavel Buchnevich is the most gifted player on the Blues. I think right now it's a waste of talent. I don't think that he's giving everything that he has to show us and prove to himself what the gifts are. And to be honest with you, ever since he signed the big contract before last season, I don't think he's been the same guy.
And I was joking saying the trade machine with no logic, but I will throw out that he's struggling right now and he does carry an $8 million cap hit. How many teams that are successful enough that he would waive his no trade clause to take a trade to them? That's the one issue with trading Buchnevich is right now it's the first year of his extension. He has a full no trade right now. So it's literally going to have to be only a good team is where he's going to want to go. Probably a good team on the East Coast, if I had to guess, based on what a lot of people from his country usually where they usually like to play. East Coast team that is good enough that he wants to go there, but also a team that can take $8 million in salary without the Blues having to eat a bunch of it. So Randy's is much more likely because Justin Falk does not have a no trade clause. Braden Shen has a 15-team no trade clause, by the way.
Yeah. Cole Bassett's left foot. Montgomery's system is still taking root. I hope that's the case. But I don't think that what we're seeing, the lack of performance that we're seeing from two players, veteran players like that, I don't think that's a system issue, A. And number two, it didn't take that long for the system to take root last year when Montgomery showed up.
But I think one of the things that worries me about that comment is the exact back and forth that Jeremy Rutherford highlighted on his Twitter, which is yesterday when asked about Thomas and Neighbours being out, how do they compensate for that? Jim Montgomery explains that they're going to have to up their checking game, their physicality.
Mm-hmm.
JR then asks, did you guys up your checking game and physicality tonight? And Montgomery's report was no, not even close. Mm-hmm. So him talking about seemingly like just kind of like a knob they can tune in the system, mm-hmm. and them knowing that was the game plan, knowing that was what they were coached to do is turn this knob, and then seeing a game in which that knob never gotten turned, that does worry me a little bit, because that should be part of the system where you can say, let's flip this switch, let's turn this knob, let's make this little coaching point, and within our system, it will work as long as the players execute. Clearly, that was part of the game plan, but the players didn't execute it. And that's why I think there's a lot of people here going back and forth between players and coaches and things like that. And I'm kind of with A's Rob here. Right now, I'm seeing a larger issue with the execution than the actual plan on the ice.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that, well, we know, because the guy has one of the best winning percentages in the history of the league, we know that Jim Montgomery can coach. We know he's a very good coach. We know he's got a very good staff. So it winds up being a matter of execution on the part of the players, because we know the players are gifted too. Some of them less experienced than others. And maybe this is just an issue of having a team with a lot of young players that you have high expectations for. When you have Snuggerud, when you have Neighbours, when you have Mailloux, really to an extent when you have Holloway and Broberg, it's a lot of youth on this team. Now, a couple of those have played in the Stanley Cup Finals and should know better, but maybe that's a group that's still maturing.
Yeah, I mean, Cam thought Mailloux and Tucker were the best defensive pairing on the ice for the Blues last night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I mean, so that says a lot about the veterans who aren't stepping up and playing the level that they need to, and even some of the young guys. And to your point, maybe this is just when you have a young team. Yeah, you're going to get the wraparound goal from Broberg, but you're going to get that in the game also where he gets beat a couple times.
I do like this from Cole Bassett's left foot. I apologize. Mr. Karraker is first chair in the orchestra of overreaction. Damn. And not a panic room DJ, or better yet, the Blues emotional thermostat.
I don't think it's overreaction. We're watching a team get shellacked every time they go out there. They get scored on early, they get scored on late, and in between, they're just barely making it past these teams.
So, and
it's not overreaction.
I am offended that you would say that I'm a guy that goes after coaches. I've never gone after coaches. Have I said, and certainly not this coach, because I think he's the guy. Have I suggested maybe that a coach should be rehomed before? Yes, but I've never said a coach should be fired.
Yeah,
I don't want people to lose their jobs. So that's not me. You're talking about the wrong guy, if that's the case.
Normilly says we really need some big saves. That would certainly help.
That would help a lot. Yeah.
We talked about it a lot, Randy, and Jim Montgomery's talked about it a lot. But where we're at now with Joel Hofer,
he's not quite HOFer.
Yeah, I understand why they can't change it, but
there's no recourse.
Does a point come where they say we have to bite the bullet here, maybe for a week or two, and Binnington's just going to have to take a lot of hot baths?
I don't think so. No, you don't do that to Binnington, because you still have to play in the playoffs.
You hope.
So you don't want to have. He's not going to play 76 games like Grant Fuhr did.
No,
or 78, however many Grant played in 1996. So it's either that, or maybe you bring Georgiev up right now and give him the opportunity.
Yeah, I guess now
you send him to a two-way deal, right?
Yeah, and so now you can bring him up. You can carry 3 goaltenders. You don't have to worry about, because obviously you have some free space now because of the injuries. If you don't want to call up a Pekka or an Alexandrov, you just let, I guess Lucic is somewhere around the building still hanging out. You can just make the move for him.
I wonder when we're going to see him, because I wonder if he brings that sandpaper and grit and veteran presence that they appear to need if he's healthy.
I think there's a good chance that they go with him, because you heard Mike's breakdown of both Pekka and Alexandrov, and Pekka has the veteran side. Alexandrov has kind of the heavier side, and he's shown it a little bit. Well, who's heavy and who has a lot of veteran minutes, and that'd be Milan Lucic, everyone. And heck, he doesn't have to do it for long. Conceivably, Thomas is still just day to day, but You cover 5 weeks on Neighbours. You're not going to cover that all with probably one player. You're probably going to do some mixing and matching. Matthew Joseph has been playing better the majority of this season. Does that change the mixing and matching you have to do necessarily on the fourth line? I'm not sure, but they're going to have. But here's the thing: taking what JR asked Monty, taking Monty's answer, they better figure out how to play more physical, because they're not going to be able to consistently out skill teams, because their most skillful player is now out for five weeks. Yeah. So they're going to have to score. Yeah, they're going to have to turn up the physicality. Like I said yesterday, they're going to have to start taking the body a little bit more.
Yeah.
Set the tone.
Yep. And by the way, it wasn't Georgiev. It was Georgi Romanov that the Blues signed. That was the goaler that they signed to the 2-way contract that if they do want to do something. And by the way, Hofer is playing for $3.4 million a year on a 1-way deal. So I don't know if that's a move that you make to send him down. I think that the play
you just have to keep 3 goalies.
Yeah.
And again, right now things get a little bit easier because of the injuries and things like that. It still sucks. It still leaves you with less of a margin for error and things like that. But at this point, I think it might make sense to bite the bullet, give Hofer a week off, but also not sacrifice the health of Binnington. I really like this from High Definition. I'm not sure what is worth driving on 270 in the rain or watching this Blues team with no fight in them. Ooh. Okay, there's a few other roadways in St. Louis that if you switch out 270, it is worse than watching this Blues team. But 270 in the rain, I can at least see the painted lines on the ground. You see that the issue is that down in the city of St. Louis, and I do love dearly the city of St. Louis, but some people might not know this, but there might be some areas where you're like, it's kind of hard to drive here in the rain. The city of St. Louis bought the wrong kind of paint.
Oh.
If you wash off no, it's not very reflective under when it gets wet.
Oh,
and so there's certain parts in the city, certain maybe even highways or main roads in the city, when it gets wet, the white paint is barely reflective in any way, shape, or form. So it does not. It's not very seeable in dark in the rain. 270 is not nearly as bad, and so you give me another chunk of the city, I'll put that a bit worse than fighting this Blues team. 270 in the lane, a little bit better than having to watch this Blues team, because it's been rough.
That I would suggest is that if you're on 270, you're probably stuck. Now, sometimes you get off and you can find side roads so that you can, for example, I live like in that West County area. So Page, Dorset, Olive, Ladue, Hardy. So if I'm going southbound to 40 and there's a lot of traffic, I can get off on Ladue, go west if I need to go to Chesterfield or whatever. I can do that. But it's hard. It's hard. And especially if you're if you're going to South County, right? If you're on 270. If I'm watching the Blues on TV, I click one button and I'm at the World Series. I'm watching a completely different thing, and I'm not bored by or frustrated by what's going on with the St. Louis Blues. So I would say what's worse is being on 270.
That's fair. That's very fair. You mama, any major highway in STL, you're taking your life into your hands, rain or no rain. That's wrong. 44 is God's highway.
Party fire.
I mean, you're flying up and down there, zero resistance all times of the day. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah. And you know what? We need to, as St. Louisans, and I know that there are people from outside St. Louis, from all over America that are tuned in, and all over the world that are tuned in to this show at this particular time. We need to savor the fact that we don't really deal with traffic. If you are in Atlanta, if you're in Houston, if you're in Dallas, if you're in LA, you have traffic.
Yeah, but we
don't have traffic.
Yeah, but they also have like things to do, which is why the people are out and about. So but it's a trade-off, Randy. If there's no traffic because people aren't doing anything.
I have a friend that lived in LA, lived in Stevenson Ranch, worked in downtown LA, spent 2.5 hours to and from work, 5 hours on the road every single day.
I would hate that.
I don't care about going somewhere and having it be awesome if it takes me 2.5 hours to get there.
Can I still be mad that they messed up the whole Brentwood, Richmond Heights area of 44? Or 40, I mean?
You know what?
Okay.
I was in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago. Compare it to Atlanta.
God bless America. One time we timed it. We were like, we're going through Atlanta at 11 a.m. Mm-hmm. There's no way there can be traffic. There's 19 lanes of highway. It's 11 a.m. How can there be traffic? You bet your ass we sat in 3 hours of traffic.
Right. And so even at the very worst of Brentwood, Richmond Heights, at where 40 narrows,
that's like
you're never sitting there for 3 hours.
No, never. God, no. Oh,
yeah, 20 minutes.
I'd be
tops.
Randy. If at any point at Brentwood on 40, if I was in there for 3 hours, I would be in jail that day.
I think I would too. Hey, Missouri, get ready. The wait is almost over. And here's one of the great things about sitting in that traffic when you rarely have to, you can just hop on your phone, because America's Sportsbook, the America's top-rated sportsbook app, DraftKings, is coming soon to the Show Me State, and you can sign up today. And if you're a new Missouri customer, you can get $300 in bonus bets when DraftKings launches on December 1st. Download now and place a $5 bet when DraftKings goes live, and you'll be able to sit in that parking lot traffic in your car on your phone, pick out a game, pick out some props that you like, and put some money down and change the way that you consume sports. It includes live in-game betting, lightning fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action. And when DraftKings officially goes live in Missouri, you'll be betting with a sportsbook app trusted by millions. It's safe, secure, and has fast money withdrawals, so you can actually make money while sitting in traffic with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code STL Sports to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when they go live December 1st. That's code STL Sports in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
I didn't like this comment here from you, Mama, who said, no traffic just means you have the opportunity to get passed by 1995 Skylark going 99 miles per hour with the bumper hanging off and expired tags. My first car that I drove was 100% in 1995 Buick Skylark.
Oh, really? That's awesome, man. So you guys
all up and down 44, ladies and gentlemen. Never the bumper hanging off, but there was one time where my parents got me the first time I ever had to get tags for my car. My parents got me the tags, put them in my glove compartment, and I didn't know about it. And I got pulled over for expired tags, and I was like, "Oh, they're in my glove compartment." Yeah. All good. The cop was nice. I'm an idiot, though.
That's great. I like this from Cole Bassett's left foot. Iron Mike Keenan didn't just coach the Blues; he detonated their comfort zone. The Blues need a new Iron Mike.
I don't think the players would agree with that.
I don't think so either. Yeah, I don't think so either. I really don't think that the coach is a problem here. And you know what? It might be kids these days. I have no idea. It could be.
We can do better than that.
Yeah, but it's the competitive level of athletes over the course of my lifetime has changed, and maybe not for the worse, because there were a lot of people, Tony La Russa being one of them.
It's pretty obvious why, though, right?
Absolutely consumed by competing. Some people just are absolutely, they hated losing so much. Marshall Falk is one of those guys. Adam Timmerman, one of those guys. We were talking to Jim Thomas, and that'll show up here on STL Sports Central about the Rams. And I didn't tell the story, but I'll tell it to you. Couple of guys, Orlando Pace, who had a very successful college career. And at the end of the 1998 football season, the Rams had gone 4-12. And it's wrap up day after the season's over, and I'm talking to guys and wishing them well. And Orlando Pace strolls by me and says, "Man, Randy, I got to make the playoff," because he did not lose in college. He might have lost like 3 or 4, 5 games in college in 3 years. And so the Rams have gone in his first 3 years. In 97, they had gone 5-11. In 98, they had gone 4-12. And he just hated losing. It killed him. And same thing with Grant Wistrom, who I believe in his college career, they won 3 championships and they might have lost 3 games. And same thing with him. And he didn't get a chance to play in his rookie year, but devastated by the fact that they were losing so much. And part of the reason that the Greatest Show on Turf was as great as it was, part of the reason that the Cardinals of the 2000s were so great as they were, is because everybody loves winning, but those players hated losing. And I'm not around the Blues as much as I used to be, but I sure don't appear to get the vibe that this is a group that absolutely despises losing. I think that if they were on a winning team, they would enjoy it immensely, because everybody loves being on a winning team. But I don't know that there's anybody here taking the bull by the horns and saying, "Guys, losing is miserable. We can't do this anymore." And I think that is probably the biggest culture change that needs to happen with this group of people. And I don't know who changes it. And I look around the National Hockey League and I don't see that demeanor anymore. The people like Kelly Chase, Ryan O'Reilly was that way. And I think because of where he is in his career now, he can't be that player that he was. But I think it's the biggest change that I've seen in sports is that there aren't as many guys who absolutely despise losing.
I think it's pretty simple. It's a lot easier to like winning more than you hate losing.
Yep, it is.
When losing means you still get $20 million.
Yep. Right.
But back in Tony La Russa's day, when even winning and losing meant you're still going home, and you still got to make some money stretch every once in a while, and you might not, and you're not really that well off.
Mm-hmm.
Then winning had an added tinge to it. Now, I mean, winning might make me $30 million, but I mean, if I'm a loser, I still make 18 per year.
And I think one of the problems that Whitey had, and when he walked into that clubhouse in 1980, was that the players didn't seem to care. They would come into the clubhouse and their demeanor was exactly the same, win or lose. And that's why Whitey felt that he needed to go get a guy like Daryl Porter, who just despised losing. And when Whitey had him, he was a really good player. He wasn't the same player here, but he had that aura of not being able to handle losing. And then you bring in some other guys on that team. Gene Tennis was a gritty, old, former Oakland A who had won a lot, but you could tell being around that team that he hated losing. And there were a couple of pitchers. Jim Cott was one of those guys who was already here. There were some veteran guys, and you need to have a guy to lead the way. And I don't know who that is. I don't know who is the guy that leads the way for the Blues that hates losing. I really think the Cardinals already have that guy on their team in Brendan Donovan. But they need more of those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's, and listen, it's not a shot. If I was these players, no. I'm not saying it's also an active thing.
It's a personality.
I think I think it's also a subconscious thing. It's just like that little extra thing in the back of your brain. It's a little different when you already got the $8 million guaranteed. And again, I'm not saying it's a conscious thing. I'm not saying they're not taking their workouts as hard in the off season or anything like that. It's just that, that the quick fire synapse in your brain when desperation is involved fires a little bit differently than when it's not involved. That would be my only point.
I'll go back to a Doug Armstrong postseason press conference a few years ago. And I don't remember if it was a sell-off year or another year where they missed the playoffs. But one of the things that Army said was that players now, because of the presence of social media, and most of you are consuming us through YouTube. And he said players now are so interested in that 18-second clip on social media of them playing that they lose sight of the other 17 minutes of the game that they're playing. That they're all about the highlight reel,
in fairness,
but not about going into the corners and doing the mucky stuff to win a hockey game. In fairness,
the greatest winner in American sports in the last 30 years made more money doing what than winning?
Who?
Michael Jordan. Made a lot more money endorsing things and being the face of the greatest shoe ever than he did winning.
But what was Michael Jordan at his foundation all about?
All about winning.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is people mistake it. And they don't, and they probably ignore the fact that, or do Jordans become Jordans if Jordan isn't Jordan? It's a weird sentence, but I think it made sense.
Yeah.
Do Jordans become Jordans if Jordan isn't Jordan?
No, because
people look at it and say, well, Michael Jordan, the greatest winner of all time, made 30x as a spokesperson and a guy on the front of as an endorser of products than he did as an actual as the greatest basketball player of all time. So I'm trying to take care of my family, get this multi-generational wealth.
Can I change what you said?
I mean,
just a little bit.
Go for it.
Rather than being the greatest winner of all time, maybe he's the greatest not loser of all time.
Ooh, that's a good way to put it. I like that. Jordan is the greatest not loser of all time.
Because he would not allow his team to lose. He willed his team to win because he despised losing so much. He despised losing in practice so much that he punched a guy in practice. Watch it. You can find it on YouTube on Last Dance.
It's true.
Where's Steve Kerr?
Really nice guy.
How could he do that?
Yeah, well,
To Steve Kerr?
something tells me Steve Kerr probably was good at getting in people's kitchens.
Yeah.
As a guy who just knocked down threes and played solid defense.
Okay. Here's how crazy college football is. Let me give you one. Bet Online. You guys ever use that? And we are.
No, I use
we use
DraftKings.
the good stuff here. But this place says that the favorite to land the Florida coaching job right now is one Eli Drinkwitz. I don't agree with it at all.
Odds. Listen, here's the thing. Vegas and odds makers can't quantify hard in an algorithm the fact that Missouri will let you build a program and Florida will fire you every 2 years. I'm sure they tried to put it in the algorithm, but something in the algorithm for Vegas can't account for that. And that's honestly the smoking gun, the golden gun, whatever, the perfect answer to why that doesn't matter is simply because Missouri will let you build a program. Florida will fire you 2 years in if you're not winning.
Is 100% true.
That's why it's not going to happen.
However, Steve Spurrier won a championship at Florida.
Yep.
And Urban Meyer won 2. Mizzou has finished in the top 15 in the country 4 times.
Can you see Eli Drinkwitz recruiting a murderer?
Well, would it help him win?
Apparently it would. if we're continuing this Urban Meyer line of thought, apparently it would. Yes.
It's a different world now,
Okay.
obviously, than the one that Urban Meyer coached in. If I'm in, and I'm not, but if I'm in Eli Drinkwitz's shoes, I look at the salary, I look at the security, I look at the market, I look at the conference, I look at what I've done the last couple of years, and I look at what you just said. Why would I want to go somewhere where I'm just going to get fired in 3 years?
And that's the thing, so like the money, they're going to pay him what?
Mm-hmm.
Another $1.5 million? He's getting paid $9 million this year. Are they going to break the $11 million threshold for him?
I think it's going to depend on what LSU has to pay for their coach.
So, but either way, we're talking about a $2 million raise on top of $9 million. What else did you mention? Recruiting. Again, we've talked about that before. Yes, Florida's backyard is better, but you're a Power 5 school. You're going to win championships not based on your recruiting freshmen. You're going to win championships based on how many starters you can pull out of the portal every year, and those kind of things. Although if you look at other things, you're probably still going to have to recruit your quarterback. But still, every other, the stadium, the facilities, Mizzou is right there with all these programs as well. Obviously, it's not going to be Death Valley, but still an incredible stadium for what they're building right now in Columbia.
Yeah, amazing.
Facilities are top notch. So all those things are, sure, maybe slight ticks ahead for Florida, but none of them are big enough that it makes sense for him to then risk the very last thing you mentioned, the thing that I mentioned. Why take that risk? Listen, if he goes off to LSU, that's always been one of the jobs. That's always been one of the 3 jobs that I say, you know what? You tip your cap and you say, thank you very much, Eli. I completely understand.
But if you were LSU, and let me check the odds for LSU. So see, this is they've got John Sumrall is the favorite to be the next LSU coach. Kiffin 3rd, James Franklin 4th, Signetti 5th, Eli 6th. John Sumrall is not going to be the next head coach at LSU. No. And Joe Brady certainly is not going to be the next head coach at LSU because they're going to get somebody. When you spend $54 million to have one guy go away, you're going to give the next guy more. And so I would be stunned if it wasn't Lane Kiffin.
6 for 70.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yep. And then that leaves Florida. And remember, Jed Fish at Washington is a Florida guy, Florida grad. He's coached there. Has SEC ties, has done a really good job both at Arizona and at Washington, and I could see that happening. And I kind of think that Eli is going to be back here. Now, the X factor in all of this is James Franklin, and if Eli Drinkwitz would go, and James Franklin would still be available, if I'm Laird Veach, I am on the next minute after Eli says, "Hey, Laird, I'm leaving. I'm going to Florida." If I'm Laird Veach, James Franklin line 1.
See, if I'm James Franklin, I want him to do just what he did. I or just what other coaches have done, which is I don't want you to give Penn State any salary relief. Same thing with Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly, you are a professional scumbag at this point. Like, you are so much better at being a bad person than you are at being a football coach. Do make sure that LSU has to pay you every dime, and that you completely skirt all of this language in your contract that says you have to try as hard as possible to get a job. Make them pay you as much as possible. James Franklin, do not get involved in this coaching cycle. Make Penn State have to pay you the full Monty next year with $100,000 offset while you consult for the Houston Texans or whatever crazy thing it is you do for absolute a pittance of a salary. Screw over these people that are buying you off. I hate them for buying you off, but also I want you to laugh at them and screw them over while they buy you off. Do not work, James Franklin. Completely take off this coaching cycle. It'll be funnier to watch the SEC team scramble for a coach that isn't named James Franklin if he does it, and also it'll be funny to watch Penn State have to wallow in their mistakes.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
I would love that.
If you love coaching, though, and Franklin said on ESPN the week after he got fired, he said, I want to coach again, because it's in some of these guys' blood, right? They just can't get away from it. So anyway, I just wanted you guys to know that Eli's name is still being tossed around. And here's one other thing about Eli. I think that there's people in Missouri that he can call, whether it's in Springfield, whether it's in St. Louis, whether it's in Kansas City, whether it's in Columbia. He can call people right now and say, hey, I need $2.5 million for Bo Prabula. And the guy will say, done. And I think if those same people that will say done for Bo Prabula, if he calls and says, hey, I'm being offered $11.5 million by LSU, I think there's people in the marketplace in Missouri that would say, we'll give you 12.
And you know what? In my thought process, I know we were joking about it 2 weeks ago. I'm legitimately thinking that it makes sense right now for Mizzou to come out tomorrow and say we've added 2 more years and $24 million on the Eli Drinkwitz's contract.
Did they just do it in September?
Yes, they did.
But they didn't add money.
No, but I'm saying right now you add 2 more years onto it, add an increased amount of per year money, whether it be 10.5 or $11 million a year. You add 2 more years and say, as all of this is circling and everyone else is trying to make moves behind our back, we're also always going to be making proactive moves.
Okay, one other question here before we get to the World Series. I'll just tell you what I think, and I will let Matthew Rocchio respond. And you can tell us in the chat what you think. Everything's equal. I'm looking for a coach. I'm in the market for a coach. Eli Drinkwitz is available. James Franklin is available. They're the same. They're both available to my school. I'm hiring James Franklin. James Franklin did a really good job at Vanderbilt. He won there. He turned around a Penn State program. He's had multiple double-digit win seasons. He was 4 quarters away from going to the championship game last year. And I love Eli. I think Eli's done a great job. I'm just saying that if I had a job opening and everything else was equal, I think that James Franklin has done a better job in his head coaching career so far than Eli Drinkwitz has.
Pick the wrong quarterback.
With Aller?
Yeah.
I don't know if he did. The other guy left. He wanted Prabula to stay.
Well, he probably could have named him the starter. That would have made him stay.
Yeah, but I don't think you get rid. I mean, you were literally 4 quarters away from the national championship game with Aller.
Yes. The Vanderbilt thing, 2 years of 9-4 with Vandy back in 2012, 2013.
Mm-hmm.
But the highest they got ranked there was 23rd.
Look at what Vanderbilt had done before that.
I know, but but Drinkwitz winning 10 games 3 years in a row with Missouri is the first time that's ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, is that not a guy also taking a fairly mediocre football program to new heights?
No, because Mizzou had that history with Pinkel.
But they were doing that in the Big 12. This is an SEC.
But still,
that means he had to win 6 SEC football games every year.
Well,
so a lot harder than winning 6.
So is Franklin winning 9 games in the SEC more impressive than Pinkel winning 10 games in the Big 12?
Well, no, but I'm talking about Drink winning 10 in the SEC is more impressive or just as impressive as what he did with Vanderbilt is my point there. And then yes, undeniably an incredible run with Penn State. Like you said, 6 10-win seasons. The last 10 straight years, they had a top 10 ranking at one point in the season or another. I guess it's one of those things where it's hard to compare because we're talking about a guy who just did 12 years at Penn State and, one of the blue bloods.
It had fallen into deep mediocrity after the Sandusky scandal and then Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, so you did have the buffer of the Bill O'Brien, but to your point, it was still coming off of that, and he took them to new heights. That's completely fair. It's not like I can sit here and cite top 25 rankings or record against top 25 rankings as a reason to take Eli Drinkwitz over James Franklin. For me, I think you just have to be asking the question of, are you going off of what you have seen over the last 15 years from James Franklin, or are you trying to maybe build your program off what the next 10 years could be with Eli Drinkwitz? Because I think we could argue that, yes, James Franklin has a better resume, but if we're talking about which coach is going to be more successful in college football in the next 10 years, I think it'd be fair for a program to roll the dice and say Eli Drinkwitz.
And Franklin, Eli is 42 and Franklin is what, 51? 52?
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying is you get the fact that one of them is 10 years younger than the other one.
And the 10 years before Franklin got to Vandy, 2-10, 2-10, 7-6, 5-7, 4-8, 5-6, 2-9, 2-10, 2-10, 2-9. Go beyond that, 3-8, 5-6, 2-9, 3-8, 2-9, 2-9. He's taking all of that and goes 6-7, 9-4, 9-4 before he winds up at Penn State. Now, everything isn't equal. And you already have Eli Drinkwitz. You aren't looking for a coach. And Eli Drinkwitz has done a magnificent job. And he knows the lay of the land. People love him here. And he's got great ties in the government and in the fundraising community. So Eli Drinkwitz is your guy. I'm just saying, if I were another school and everything else was equal, that's the direction I would go. And we could argue about it until the cows come home, if they do. But I just have a lot of respect for what James Franklin has done over the course of his career.
And let me check what I said. I said earlier, this year, if they do win 10 games, it'll be the first time they've ever won 3 10-game seasons in a row. Bingle did 2 10-win seasons in a row twice, 07-08, and then 13-14. Drinkwitz has 11-23, 10-24, and if he wins 10-20-25, that would be the first time ever.
He's doing a great job, and there's a reason that he is the favorite to get the Florida job, because he is highly respected around the sport. Okay, did you stay up till the end of the World Series game last night? 18 innings?
Nope.
I didn't either. Freddie Freeman with another game-winning home run for the Doyers.
You made it close, though.
6+ hours. Yeah.
What'd you make it to?
16.
Jesus Christ.
16th inning. Yeah.
That's incredible.
So, but I was just too tired, and I fell asleep. Great moments, bad moments. I think that John Schneider, the manager of the Blue Jays, left himself open to multiple criticisms, not the least of which is pinch running for Alejandro Kirk, his good hitting catcher, and with another catcher, and then didn't leave himself a third catcher. I think that was an issue, but he wound up with nobody on the bench. He knew that he wouldn't have Bo Bichette for the whole game because of the knee. He knew that his bench was going to be limited. And so he wound up with, after 18 innings, with no position players left. You can really dig deep to find pitching mistakes, but overall, they once they got into their bullpen, they pitched okay. I think the biggest issues were things that he did in terms of maneuvering his bench, and then what his coaches did in sending players when they probably shouldn't have.
Yeah, that was risky. I mean, you got to give credit on both sides. The defensive plays that were made. One big thing, I know I should say a big thing. It's a small thing, but the crew for World Series game.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's just, you can't be making that late of a call on that on that high ball that should have been a ball that he calls a strike, that loses a base runner and wastes an out for the Blue Jays. That was an unbelievably stupid play. Yes, the Blue Jays need to be smarter about that play and not just be lagging off first like that. But huge mistake by the umpire. Can't be having that in a World Series game. But to focus on the real plays, I mean, you had Vlad Guerrero, that incredible play he made on that throw to third base. You had Tommy Edman, who early in the games got the goat horns on and then proceeds to make three incredible defensive plays and get a big hit. You have the fact that Dalshin Varsho, I think caught Freddie Freeman at the warning track 3 times before then having to then chase him a 4th time back to the wall and not being able to make the catch. I mean, it was unbelievable. Clayton Kershaw comes in and the bases loaded, potentially the last time he's ever going to pitch, or it is the last
we'll
time.
See him tonight. I guarantee we'll see him tonight.
That's a very good point.
If Shohei gives you 6, and by the way, that's
potentially the last time we ever see Clayton Kershaw, and it's in October in a clutch moment, and he comes through. That was, I mean, that was unbelievable. And the moments that we didn't get, which was, if the game goes to the 19th, do they go with Yamamoto out of the bullpen because he was warming up in the 18th? Robert says they would have gone to a position player. I think he's lying. I think they would have risked Yamamoto.
That would have been something. Now the story, and it really should be the lead rather than Toronto or Yamamoto or Freeman.
Yes.
Shohei Ohtani was on base 9 times in this game.
And somehow that didn't break it broke a World Series record, but didn't break an MLB record.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? Nobody's ever been on base 10 times in a game. It tied.
It did. I'm saying it tied a record.
Yeah.
The fact that it didn't break an MLB record it broke a World Series record, but not an MLB record is insane. Can't believe there's been somebody else who's gotten on base 9 times in a game.
It's unbelievable. And the Blue Jays have learned their lesson to walk him, including to lead off an inning. But Betts 1 for 8. Freeman, that home run got him to 2 for 7. Will Smith 1 for 6. Max Muncy 0 for 7 in the game. Teoscar had a 4-hit night. And I'm really interested to see how things happen tonight. I have not seen, by the way, the medical report for George Springer.
Also, we messed this one up. Tommy Edman.
Hope he's healthy.
He looks like he looks healthy. He looks like he's loving playing baseball.
I think I think he
looks motivated. He's got his head down. I mean, and again, early bad play, but God, the plays he made defensively were unbelievable. That was such an incredible game, back and forth. Everything we got. I mean, the recap that I went back and watched, because again, I didn't get to watch the full game, was intense as hell. Mm-hmm. Fans were impressive. Will Smith catching that whole game is unbelievable.
That's great. Yeah.
Just there's so many little things from this game, but yes, I mean the Shohei Ohtani of it all.
Yeah, unbelievable.
David Ortiz. We talked about this a few weeks ago. David Ortiz in the 2013 had a 1,900 OPS.
Mm-hmm.
Through 3 games, Shohei Ohtani's is 2,048.
Unreal.
Shohei Ohtani has a 2,048 OPS. And oh, by the way, he's going to start for the Dodgers tonight.
Absolutely remarkable.
Listen, I understand. I never got to watch Babe Ruth. And there's some people this might be blasphemous of, but Barry Bonds is now number 2. I'm watching the greatest person to ever touch a bat.
You are. Yep.
It's unbelievable, Randy.
Yeah. And the Doyers have their lineup out for game 4. Ohtani is leading off. He's the designated hitter and the pitcher. It's Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Smith, Teoscar, and Muncy. Edman back at second, so he's healthy. Kike in left and Pages in center. And Ohtani is on the mound. Now, the Dodgers always bring Kike Hernandez back. But what do you think of them getting Kyle Tucker this offseason to play in the outfield?
No, that they don't need that.
Yeah, apparently they do.
They
aren't happy with their outfield production.
I mean, sure. Why not? We already have pretty much, both 2 feet and 1 hand in the lockout's going to happen bucket. Might as well just go full hokey pokey on this.
Yeah, let's really ruin baseball.
Just say yes, owners. Or poor owners, come after us, because we are coming for your sport and we plan to dominate it.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how other teams, specifically our team, combats this. I think it's going to be pretty remarkable to see what happens over the course of the next 2 years. Actually, now it's a year and 2 months before we would get to a lockout.
As somebody who sat in St. Louis through the fall and winter of 2004, 2005.
Mm-hmm.
Are you worried about, because we've talked a lot about the lockout and how it could be great for baseball because of the cap and the floor and things like that will most likely come out of it. But the idea of potentially losing a full season right now in 2027, where the rest of the sports are, as someone who's a diehard baseball fan, does it worry you about the where MLB stands if they lose a full season?
It does, because I don't think hockey had as much to lose. I think hockey had to save itself.
Yeah.
When they gave up their season. I think with where baseball is right now in the American consciousness, I think that they could be putting a bullet in their head if they don't play.
Jesus.
I think it could end the sport, because people, and I understand that TV ratings are coming back, attendance is coming back, St. Louis notwithstanding, but if there is to be consumed in the summer of 2027, people are going to be watching basketball until June, hockey until June, soccer, MLS will get more of an opportunity to draw fans away from baseball.
I will say, by the way, MLS is trying to move their schedule to that way they won't be playing in the summer anymore.
But it wouldn't be 27 that early, would it?
You'd think it would be really dumb to lose that opportunity.
Yeah, right. But then once football starts at the middle to late part of July, then football owns the country. So if baseball thinks that they can come back, if they miss 4 or 5 months of a season and people will automatically come back, it's not going to happen. They didn't come back until Cal Ripken broke the record in 1995 after the 94 season, which they lost the World Series. They didn't really come back in droves until McGuire and Sosa in 1998. Well, baseball, as Rick Pitino might say, with apologies to him, McGuire and Sosa aren't walking through that door. There is nothing that could happen for baseball that would bring people back. We've already got Shohei Ohtani. We're seeing it right now. Shohei Ohtani is not going to be new if he comes back in his 30s after a lockout in 2027. St. Louis is already struggling to draw fans. How do you get fans back if you go through a lockout? You come back with a cap and you say, okay, now you people have a chance. Well, you know what? You stole the game from me for essentially a full season. I'm not coming back to you. And I really think that with the expense of sports now, in terms of going to games, in terms of getting concessions, I've got another thing for you here. I don't think that you can get baseball fans back if you are gone for 4 or 5 months of a season.
It's going to be really hard. And again, the biggest issue that baseball has is that the biggest bonus that baseball has is its consistency, and that it's always there in the background. It's on the radio. It's there when you're at the pool in the summer. It's there when you're driving home with the top down. It has that nostalgic connection. If you lose that and people lose that connection to it, I would compare it kind of maybe to like what we saw with people's connection to certain just like ways that they did things in 2020 and how you get away from it, doing it for 8 months and all of a sudden there's no reason to get back to it. I think there could be some of that with baseball fandom a little bit.
I don't think there's any question that the baseball fan and the average major league fan, last I saw, and I think it's still around this, is 57 years old. So a lot of the baseball fans are dying off too. And like I am older than 57, but that if there is a 57, so 57 is the average. So for every 47, you've got a 67-year-old. So that would be alarming as well. I think that if baseball would lose, they're already losing fans. If they would lose fans because of a lockout, you're going to have a group that won't come back, and then you'll also have a group that's just going to die on you.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, and that's why baseball. Listen, they need it to fix the problems.
Yes,
but it can't be one that languishes.
And as Mike Claiborne has noted on this very channel, STL Sports Central, this is more of an owner versus owner situation. It's not necessarily, will ultimately become a player versus player situation. But as we speak right now, the owners have to come to grips with the fact that they need to share revenue so that franchises like Kansas City and St. Louis and Cincinnati and Pittsburgh and Minnesota and Cleveland can compete. Because at the moment, the fans of those teams, if they're paying close attention, they know their team has no chance to win the World Series.
This is the best kind of battle, guys. We've seen this 1,000 times. The 75% has 25% of the resources, and they're going to go to war against the 25% that has 75% of the resources. Yeah. Which one's going to win out? That's what we're talking about. And to your point, it probably is better even so, not even described as even like players versus owners or rich owners versus poor. It's going to be the halves of baseball because the richest players aren't going to want to see a cap.
Right.
And so the richest players are going to be on the side of the richest owners. And so it's all across baseball. It's going to be the 90% who control 10% versus the 10% who control 90%. That's what this battle is going to be against. And so far, at least in this country, that war usually goes pretty poorly for the larger percentage with the smaller amount of heft. Yeah. So we'll see if that changes.
Yeah. Can you do me one quick favor here?
Doubtful.
And check your email?
Sure.
I would appreciate it. Because this is fun, and I want you guys to know about this. So if you didn't see last night, the cheapest ticket available for the World Series game in Los Angeles was $800 on social media, which on the second-hand market, it's not too bad, really, when you think about it. $800. I mean, because if you get to the World Series, face value for good tickets here in St. Louis, I think in 2013.
Was this the picture?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's the right one.
2013. I think, if I'm not mistaken, World Series tickets here, individual ones,
what the hell is going on?
I'll tell you in a second. World Series tickets here were $1,000. So here you are in the World Series, and there were tickets on the secondary market, I believe, for $800, which so big picture, not a bad deal. I think those might have been like the cheapest in the house in the far reaches of the upper deck. Now, here's my thing. Are we ready?
Not ready. I gotta give me. Well, talk for about 2 more minutes.
The Doyers, in addition to having expensive tickets, have added a few concession items to their menu for the World Series this year, and so you can go to any concession stand and not only get your typical Dodger dog, which is a really nice item, and I know it's classic and traditional.
Jim Hayes is a vociferous opponent of the Dodger dog and where it should actually stand in baseball history.
The dog at Wrigley is actually better.
Wow.
It is. But the Dodgers fans, whether it's good or bad, whatever the opinion is, Dodgers fans think the Dodger dog is classic and they love it. So the Dodgers have said, you know what, we will keep the Dodger dog on the menu, but we've got some other things that we would like to add for those people that are paying $800 or $900 or $1,000 or more for a ticket. And they've got surf and turf nachos that they've added, but they've also got this. They've got this tomahawk steak that comes with Conchita bone marrow. Oh no, there is a Conchita bone marrow taco. But then this big old tomahawk ribeye is $150 at the concession stand. So that's one of the things that you can get at Dodger Stadium during this World Series. If you're spending $800 for a ticket, why not get a $150 steak on a stick? It's a tomahawk. My goodness, why not get it?
It's not good for me when I do when I publicly talk about how much I hate the coasts. So I'm gonna punt on this discussion.
Okay. It's served with chimichurri, horseradish cream, and smashed pea-wee potatoes. I don't know that I go $150 at a ball game for a steak, but in LA, and maybe not many people in LA actually eat red meat, looks really good. But in LA, where everybody's making a lot of money, might as well give it a shot. That is available at a concession stand at Doyer Stadium.
I listen. I don't know how it happens, but if the politicians in this country could actually do some good work, they would make it so that anyone charging more than what the Atlanta Falcons and the Mercedes-Benz Dome charge people for concessions,
$2 hot dogs,
would somehow have litigation against them, would be hunted down in some kind of politically advantageous blood sport that would give us entertainment as well as cheaper food prices. That would be a really good thing in my opinion. I think it'd be one way that this country could really better itself, because there's no reason that if Arthur Blank and Company can sell their hot dog for $2 in what is arguably at times the fourth largest and most important market in America,
and make
or at least the fifth
more
market,
money in concessions than anybody else too.
then these thieves in California can certainly find a way not to charge me $19 for a hot dog.
Well, but you can go to a lot of restaurants and spend $150 for a piece of steak.
I can go to a lot of restaurants in St. Louis and get a bigger piece of steak for less than $150.
No doubt about it. But
and that's why
I'm just saying
rules.
that in LA, where everybody's making $1 million anyway, big deal.
See, I feel like I've met a lot of normal Dodgers fans who don't make a lot of money and wouldn't be able to.
But they aren't at Dodger Stadium for the World Series,
unfortunately, and that's the problem with baseball.
Yeah,
of course, that's also the problem with every other sport.
One other quick note about Atlanta, by the way.
I know a lot of regular people who went to Stanley Cup games.
In where?
And here in St. Louis.
Oh yeah, yeah. But St. Louis has normal people.
Yes, exactly.
The Dodgers, LA doesn't have normal people.
You're really making it hard for me not to go in my full coastal hatred right now.
Okay, so one other quick note though about Atlanta. So if you have not been to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and I have not, but one of their main vendors and one of their main concession stands is Atlanta-based Chick-fil-A.
Oh.
When is Chick-fil-A closed?
Sunday.
When do the Falcons play?
Sundays.
So what they do is they close down the Chick-fil-A's and they've got a chicken sandwich knockoff that they put into those concession stands on Sundays.
I love that so much.
That's pretty funny. I don't know if they're Chick-fil-A, if they're authentic, if Chick-fil-A supplies them, but apparently you can go to these stands, the Chick-fil-A stands that are closed on Sunday, and buy a chicken sandwich. So there you have it with a little bit of knowledge and information that you can use from the Randy Karraker Show here on STL Sports Central. Great job as always.
$5 should be the most a regular hot dog costs anywhere in this country. That's what I'm saying. At the absolute most. Abraham Lincoln should give me a hot dog.
You can't do that at Home Depot, brother.
What? I can't get a hot dog for $5?
$8 for a hot dog, Cheetos, and soda at Home Depot.
$8?
Yep, it is.
I thought Home Depot was for the working man.
No.
Yeah, I guess I got to go to Menards or Lowe's.
Okay. Pro tip for those of us that aren't making a ton of money these days and want to go out for lunch and don't want to spend $12 or $8. Sam's and Costco dogs and pizza, or where it's at.
Yes.
Or where it's at. So just remember that. And you're welcome from Uncle Randy. When are we going to air our Jim Thomas interview? Do we know?
Today or tomorrow.
Today or tomorrow.
I believe, if I had to guess based on other things that are getting posted, with a Blues game tonight, I think there's a good chance that Jim Thomas is going to get posted tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, good. So keep an eye open for that here at STL Sports Central. Jim Thomas has a new book out. It's called St. Louis Blues, A Curated History of the Blues. And Jim Thomas is always a guy with great stories.
That was a great interview.
Yeah, thank you. We're looking forward to having that up and on for you here at STL Sports Central. For Matthew and Wilson getting us on the air, I'm Randy. And we appreciate our friends.
Little promo. Because it's not going to be released tomorrow. We'll be releasing Jim Thomas tomorrow, but we'll be recording tomorrow with a certain former Cardinal, big hitter, big masher, got a big bat, and he's going to come in here in studio. We're going to get to talk to him, talk a little Cardinals baseball tomorrow, and that one will be hitting the stream a little bit later this week.
We're looking forward to that as well. Thanks for being a part of the show, and we thank our friends at DraftKings for presenting STL Sports Central. We'll see you next time here on the Randy Karraker Show.